A very good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. I do want to give a shout out to all of our Florida friends and anybody affected by the hurricane. Genuinely hope everybody is doing well. Let's take an awkward transition to our recap screen real quick. Listen, a lot of our bets from yesterday didn't occur yesterday. It was just Amag's 2 bets. He unfortunately goes 0 for 2, but don't forget, Martin Green had a couple of picks. I have a pick that starts in 23 minutes, and you can still get it in. If you didn't join us yesterday, that pick was Nick Hardy in a 3-ball match or a round 1 3-ball against, I'm trying to remember who it was, Nick Hardy. I'll remember for you, but if you find the Nick Hardy bet, it'll be up there. I know I just looked at BetMGM. They have it up among some of the other books. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring in the stars of the show. We've got a heavy MLB, a heavy NFL show for you today. Just real quick behind the curtain, Mike, I was talking to you right before we went live, and I know I'm going to see you again at 11 o'clock for FFT DFS about the Jets. And I only brought up the Jets because you're wearing Jets green. I put in a play yesterday, a future on the Jets to make the playoffs at plus 115, and it's because their schedule is just so unbelievably easy after they play the Buffalo Bills. Any thoughts on that one?
I like it. It's the schedule you talk about. Extremely easy schedule the rest of the way. And the fact that despite the slow start to the season, if they win on Monday night on their home field, they're in first place in the division. And that's just incredible there. You look at Miami, yes, a long shot, but we'll see what happens with Tua and how good that team is. They might have dug themselves too deep of a hole. And the Patriots aren't going to be relevant there. So when you look at this matchup, this head-to-head matchup for the Jets, it means everything on Monday Night Football here, but I do love the schedule the rest of the way.
All right, and by the way, the 3-ball was Nick Hardy versus Cam Champ and JB Holmes. Just in case anybody who still wants to put that in, starts at 10:24. And I did do what I promised to do. I tweeted out my first round leaders yesterday. You still have time because the live odds just stay up there. You still have time to take really all of those guys that I put down if you want to check out my Twitter if you missed it yesterday. Mackenzie Brooks, how are you doing today? Are you here with WNBA or are you here with NFL?
We're going NFL today. We're going to see how this first game 1 plays out, and then we'll start to get the WNBA picks back up again.
All right. Sniper, I noticed that in London, we have your Bears playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. And you and I had that conversation last week as to who might win that game. I got to be honest with you. I kind of think the Bears will probably win, but I do think it's winnable for the Jags. Your comments before we get into your official picks, your comments on Bears Jags.
I'm with you. Like I expect the Bears to win, but I'm a Bears fan and I'm a total homer, and I'm not apologetic about that at all. But you could definitely see the way that could break for the Jags for sure. I like the growth in Caleb Williams, but I've definitely heard anytime anybody gets excited, everybody point out that it's only been against bad teams. Jags are also a bad team, I believe. So the growth should continue this week. But you never know.
Yeah, I think the Bears can get it done on offense against this Jaguars defense, which is really bad. I think they get some people back in the defensive backfield. But either way, let's transition finally to some official picks. Sniper, just so everybody knows, Sniper, you're going to give us some picks. Mackenzie, you're going to give us some model picks. Mike, you're going to give us a pick against the spread. And then I've got a prop that I just put out on SportsLine maybe an hour ago that I like. So, Sniper, start us off with some MLB playoffs.
I will do just that. And first things first, I wanted to say how amazing the Major League Baseball playoffs have been this year. Yeah. There have been so many back and forth games. There have been so many comebacks late. There's been a lot of big hits. There's been great pitching. It's been a joy so far, and we're not even halfway through. One series that has been, they've had an exciting moment in an exciting game, but it has not been the most exciting on the docket, and that would be Guardians Tigers, especially if you like scoring. I'm going to go under 6.5 runs on this one. I'm not going to beat around the bush there, but remember, the Guardians scored 5 runs in the first inning of game 1. They've only scored 2 runs the entire rest of the series, and they are now currently on a 19 straight inning scoreless streak. That 5-run inning, there was an error mixed in there, so they had a little help there. Meanwhile, the Tigers started the series with 17 straight zeros on the scoreboard before they got that Kerry Carpenter 3-run home run, which was the most exciting moment in the series. This series right now is only 7-6 in terms of runs scored. 13 total runs in the entire series in 3 games. I had some people ask me, is this just great pitching or bad hitting? Well, first of all, for our purposes here, who cares? It doesn't matter why they're not scoring runs. They're just not. And so I love the under 6.5 here. I do think it's mostly good pitching, but neither offense is really going to light the scoreboard on fire in any given game. So I love staying under 6.5 here. I know it's a really, really low number, but if you look at the way these games have gone right now and you tell yourself a 4-2 final score means we win this bet, I absolutely love it. Also going to go to the second game with Garrett Cole and Michael Wacha on the mound. It's very unpredictable to me. Cole was really, really good down the stretch, but the Royals had his number in game one. Wacha was really good most of the season, did not look very good in game one. I wanted to look at a player prop here, and Juan Soto has looked really good through most of the series. He has taken his walks as he does, but he's 3 for 7 in his career. Against Wacha, he has 3 hits, a run, and an RBI in the series. He would have hit over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs twice out of 3 games so far in this series, like he did last night where he had a run and an RBI without a hit. He also had a first inning fly out that would have been a home run in 17 out of 30 ballparks. Now it's still in the same ballpark, but I'm just pointing out that he has been himself in this series. So he's a good bet here to go over this line. He has a great history in Kauffman Stadium. If you're into that sort of thing, 368 average with over 1,000 OPS. I know everybody's going to ask about home run plays. I would definitely avoid that first game because there's just not enough scoring and not enough power hitting in that. In the Royals-Yankees game, you've got guys to choose from, right? Bobby Witt Jr., Salvador Perez on the Royals side, Juan Soto, Giancarlo Stanton on the Yankees side. And if you want to bet on Aaron Judge breaking out, if he does actually get one, it will go. Any of those guys I would be okay with.
Wow, love the analysis there. And I love that we have some cappers in the chat. I mean, I think most of the early edge chat are cappers themselves. I see you, David Talk, for example, Brad Betts, but Larry Hartstein, who is feeling under the weather, but well enough to participate in the chat. So really appreciate his time. I know he's answering some questions. And shout out to Mark Drumheller, a capper himself, joining the show. He says, give me some winners. I am in pain over my Phillies. A lot of fans of this show are Phillies fans, so I'm sure a lot of people share that sentiment. I've also asked, hey, who's going to win this game? Who's going to cover the spread? San Francisco or Seattle? A lot of San Francisco love. Maybe some foreshadowing for a pick or two we're about to hear. Speaking of picks, how about a first touchdown pick? We've all had our first touchdown bet called back before, and BetMGM is giving you a second chance. With BetMGM's Pro Football Second Chance, place any first touchdown score bet, and if your player doesn't score first but scores second, get your entire stake back in cash, no opt-in required. Here's how it works. Place a pregame straight first touchdown score bet in any NFL game. If your player scores the first touchdown in that game, win your wager as normal. If your player scores the second touchdown in the game, you'll get your stake back in cash. It's that simple. Log into BetMGM for more details. All right, Mackenzie, it's your turn next. We got to get some model picks, and we got to get Mike's pick. We got to get my pick. We're going to do it right after this message from our partners.
CBS Sports HQ, giving you college football coverage unlike anyone else.
We're talking Big Ten.
Pre- and post-game coverage.
Are you encouraged the way that this team responded?
Along with breaking news.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
Highlights and expert analysis.
That streak could be in jeopardy here.
Sure. What was your main takeaway from this game? How impressive was his domination?
That really changed the football game.
Let's go ahead and have some more fun.
Another wild ending.
The chaos continues.
Turn to CBS Sports HQ.
We're back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Larry dropping some knowledge. The Seahawks' third game in 11 days. And I think that foreshadows really well that you're about to see a lot of 49ers love one way or the other. Mackenzie Brooks, it starts with you with some kind of, secondary type picks, maybe a secondary player in the Juice Kyle Juszczyk. But we're going to start with Jordan Mason.
Yeah, 2 players I think that will benefit prop-wise from Christian McCaffrey not being on the field, starting with Jordan Mason to go over his receiving prop. I know a lot of people were talking about his rushing prop, but we like him. We're projecting him for 10 receiving yards, which I know isn't a ton of value, but for a guy who averages 9.5 yards per reception, but really just another bet on him to go over a reception. So if you can get him at half a reception and you like that price better, depending on what book you're using, then I think that's just as good of a play. But for us right now, we're going receiving yards. This is a guy that got really comfortable as a receiving back towards the end of his college career. And now with Christian McCaffrey out, he's gone from a first down, second down back closer to a third down back, and we're seeing a lot more opportunities for him in his last 3 games, 5 receptions for 57 yards compared to just 2 receptions on 9 yards his first 2 games. So again, getting really comfortable in that receiving back position. And then we're going to Juszczyk as well, over 7.5 receiving yards, I believe it's up to now. Ticked up from 6.5. We have him projected for 17 yards. And again, a guy that averages 10.6 yards per reception. So really, again, another just bet on an over under for receptions, whatever you think is the better play for you. But 18 and 13 since 2022 to this number with 15 receiving yard average. So I feel like, again, with McCaffrey out, that starts to bring up the production for him as well. So between Jordan Mason and Juszczyk, I feel like I'm confident we can go 1-1, but I'm pretty sure we can get 2-0 with this as well.
All right, Kyle Juszczyk and Jordan Mason. Yeah, I think Jordan Mason probably ought to be used a little bit more in the receiving game than he has. I mean, obviously, we know he's not Christian McCaffrey. He doesn't represent that mismatch that Christian McCaffrey represents to any linebacker or safety that tries to cover him. But I do think we're going to see some – I think Kyle Shanahan's going to have to get creative, and this actually leads into my pick. With the offense, I think when they get to the red zone, they've really been stumbling. And I think it might be throws to Kyle Juszczyk, or it might be throws to Jordan Mason, or plays out of the backfield from Deebo Samuel. What I love about this 49ers offense right now against a bad Seattle defense is that they're really healthy on offense. And I think that's a really big problem for Seattle, again, especially with guys like Reek Woolen out. I think it's really good for Brock Purdy. He's only surpassed 2 touchdowns, or I should say 1.5 touchdowns, which is his line, in 1 game this year. But that, I think, regression is coming for the benefit of more touchdowns from Brock Purdy, particularly against this defense. Again, I'm on Brock Purdy over 1.5 touchdown passes at -118. I noticed a lot of books have this at a different number. I'd play it up to -130. Probably wouldn't go too much heavier beyond that. I also like Brock Purdy's over passing yards, but because I'm not exactly sure from a time of possession standpoint what the San Francisco 49ers are going to be able to do against Kenneth Walker specifically, I do know that Seattle's going to try to hold on to the ball, keep their offense off the field. So I'm just going to go with the touchdowns because I trust that the Niners are going to be able to get the red zone really quite often, frankly, early and often. And I think once they do that, they're going to have to come up with a little bit more gimmicks to actually cash those red zone possessions in. I think Brock Purdy, again, regression is coming. He's going to start to have those 2 and 3 touchdown games now that everybody is healthy. So give me Brock Purdy over 1.5 touchdown passes. So, Mike, I don't know if you agree with my play or not, but it's certainly, if my play hits, I would think that it's certainly good for your play.
Yeah, definitely good for my play. When I look at this game, I think that for you want me to give my pick now, Sia? I guess I should. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So I like the 49ers -3.5 in this game. You could play 3 at -125 or greater if you want to, but -3.5 at even money or -105 is a better play than 3 at -125. So when I look at this matchup, though, I really like this for San Francisco. Seattle is incredibly beat up coming into this divisional game. And it is an absolute desperation spot on the side of the 49ers. It is a true must-win game here. You look at this team, if they lose this game, they will be favored to miss the playoffs completely because of the hole that they will have dug in the division. It would be a 3rd division loss. It would essentially make them have to win out. And that is a problem when you look at their upcoming schedule because they play the Chiefs and the Cowboys next, then at the Bucs, Seattle again, at Green Bay, at Buffalo. It is a brutal, brutal ride the rest of the way for the 49ers. But when I look at this game, they've still been a great team. All you're going to hear is talk about how they've blown big leads. But you know what you have to do to blow big leads? You have to have big leads. And that's what they've been able to really accomplish. And I think that that's going to be something they continue to do. I just think there will be a more focused effort the rest of the way in maintaining that lead. But I really think they're going to be able to move the football, particularly on the ground between the 20s and then likely through the air in the red zone where things tighten up a bit. But when I look at this matchup here, San Francisco still rates top 4 in the NFL in terms of net EPA per drive. That is a metric that is definitely going to indicate you are a strong football team on both sides of the ball. And that's what I ultimately think they are. The offensive line for Seattle, though, that's where the injuries I think are really going to show themselves tonight. I think San Francisco is going to be able to generate that pass rush. Geno Smith, while it's looked easy in a few games, I don't think it's going to look easy for him in this one. So I think this is a spot where the 49ers could absolutely run away with the game. But at 3.5, I think the number should be closer to 6. So give me the 49ers side.
you typically don't like to buy points, but if somebody wanted to buy that down to -3 and it was presenting at like -125, would you be okay with that?
Yeah, just understanding it's a worse play, but yes. So when I played it, I played this at even money, 3.5. 3.5 even money equals -3 at -119. So anything above -119 is going to be a worse play on the 3.5. But yeah, I typically would avoid that. Generally speaking, when you're looking at it, if you're being offered something for sale like that, you're being offered that because it is a worse value. You're not getting a favor by being able to purchase that. So yes, I would stay away.
That's the type of analysis we also get on Fantasy Football Today DFS. Join us at 11 o'clock for that with me, Mike, and Make Shop. Sniper, I got to ask you, because there's a lot of chatter, and this makes sense. There's a lot of chatter about tomorrow's game, Dodgers versus Padres. It's too early for you to give a pick, but just your lean right now. It looks like the Dodgers, I don't see the pitcher listed right now. It looks like you, Darvish. Dodgers are -140 to win this one. Yeah.
The Dodgers haven't announced a starter. It drives me crazy with Dave Roberts. Just like yesterday, they had Freddie Freeman in the lineup and then said he was a late scratch. And after the game, Freeman said, though that was just gamemanship, I was never going to play. So the Dodgers have refused to announce a starter. But here's the deal. They're going to start Yamamoto because they don't want him to come in relief. Jack Flaherty will be available to come out of the bullpen. The Padres are going to start Yu Darvish, and he's on regular rest from game 2. He was great in Dodger Stadium. I still like the Padres. One of these things about these short series is, and I get caught up in it too, the second somebody scores in the game, you think, okay, this game's over and they're definitely going to win the next game too. So everybody's like, after game 3, the Padres were definitely going to close the Dodgers out in game 4. Now the Dodgers blew them out in game 4, so they're definitely going to win game 5. I just don't think that's definitely going to be the case. I think game 5 is going to be a really close game in all likelihood, but I do have the Padres in that one.
All right. And I know Brad Betts, changing gears a little bit. Brad Betts, I'm actually looking for it right now. He had a pick in the chat, both teams to score pick. So check out all the picks in the chat as well. It looks like a lot of people agreeing with the 49ers to agreeing with Mike McClure, which is always a good thing to do, agreeing with the 49ers to cover the 3.5. I'm just trying to check before we get to the recap screen to see if we have any other questions.
Somebody did just mention kind of off the cuff, hey, do the Tigers and Yankees close it out today? Again, getting caught up in the game 3s, it definitely feels like the Tigers and Yankees will win today. I don't want to write the Guardians off right now. I feel like the Guardians can probably send this back home. I do think that the Yankees are the better team than the Royals, and they're in position to win this game. So I think I would say the Guardians force game 5 and the Yankees close it out. And I'll see what you guys to say about that.
Before I go there, do we have the pitcher listed for the Tigers?
I haven't seen it. I assume it will be a reliever, maybe Holton.
Mike, your response?
Yeah, it'll definitely be a bullpen game. I think there's a scenario where Reese Olson gets some bulk work, probably 2 2/3, maybe 3 innings. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a bullpen game. They're going to use at least 5-6 pitchers minimum.
And one more question for you, Mike. Seth Quinn asking, because he knows you're a first quarter guy, how do you feel about San Francisco first quarter?
I don't mind it. Didn't find it to be super favorable in this particular matchup. I will say first quarter bets are a lot more profitable in college football than they will be in the NFL, just with some of the scoring rules and the way that the teams operate. So, more interested in those in college where you have a much bigger gap in talent.
All right. See y'all at 7 o'clock, 7:15 actually for Thursday Night Football, says Jeffrey Aguilar. Yeah, I'm going to be crashing that party as well. Let's take a look at the recap screen before we get out of here, folks. I'm on Brock Purdy tonight, over 1.5 touchdown passes at -118. I lean his yardage as well, but the reason there's a reason I didn't put that in as an official play. I like this touchdown play a little bit more. Sniper, Guardians, Tigers, under 6.5 at even money, and Juan Soto over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs at -140. Mike McClure, 49ers, -3.5 at -105. In the SportsLine model, courtesy of Mackenzie Brooks, Jordan Mason, over 9.5 receiving yards at -110, and Kyle Juszczyk over 7.5 receiving yards. Liddy says, good luck, everybody. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. Actually, Liddy, I'll see you at 11, hopefully, and everybody else at 11 o'clock for FFT DFS. And then I'll see you again at 7:15 for the primetime show. And then, Liddy, I'll see you tomorrow right here for Big Pick Energy Friday at 10 o'clock on Friday indeed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Thank you so much for joining the show. Thank you to Jake the Snake, who, by the way, I should have brought him on the show to pat himself on the back. He's 2-0 on the Mets. I think he's the good luck charm. Forget about Grimace. It's Jake the Snake. On behalf of Jake, Grimace, the Mets, I guess, Mackenzie Brooks, Mike McClure, the Sniper, I'm the Counselor of Cash. This is the Early Edge. Let's have a great Thursday. We rest our case.